This is Dan Bishop from North Carolina. He's on the War Room, which they have finally taken off the pandemic War Room logo. I guess they're admitting it's over as well. But here you go.
Honored to have Congressman Dan Bishop join us. The first.
That's just rude. Just lie to the guy's face as soon as he shows up.
Of many, we're going to roll out some of the big guns in this. You heard right.
What? Why does he always look like an extra in Scrooged?
There, about the adults in the room. I mean, if this bill was at any way looking to save our economy and to particularly save not just future generations, but to make sure we're not Japan in lost decades of low and no growth, they would be on fire today about what barbarians we are.
Yeah, it was kind of gibberish. Can't help you there.
All you're hearing from the mainstream media is Kevin McCarthy is an adult. Kevin McCarthy is a leader. Kevin McCarthy is responsible.
Kevin McCarthy has a weird-shaped head and has a silly speaking voice, and therefore you'd think he and Steve Bannon would get along.
What does that signal to you, Congressman?
Barely concealed glee. Even Biden said
that's the worst kind, because, you know, you can tell.
Said it on the clip yesterday. He didn't want to gloat because people wouldn't vote for it. I think that was the word that I'd read in the headline he used, gloat.
Fucking gloat. I mean, people are going to call him the gloat, the greatest leader of all time.
This is a disaster. It is an entire capitulation of the dynamic.
I'm liking this bill more and more. I was okay with it because I recognize that you got to do something. But the more this guy talks about it, like I'm starting to get a semi about this.
Created in January that Republicans could be unified around a core set of real ideas that we.
Hey, dumbfuck, you couldn't even be unified around who your fucking speaker was.
Were going to go to the mat to accomplish. Kevin McCarthy is emasculating himself.
That's I'm sure one of your fellow Republicans has an anti-trans bill they can attack him with.
And the Republican majority. And so the bill's bad on its own terms, and that's worth knowing.
Yes, we'll go through that in a second. Yeah.
But
oh yes, please, I'm excited.
But the significance,
if you hate it, reason to love it,
is that it is blowing up. It is reverting to norm in terms of the way Washington works, and
remember when it used to work? I do.
Abandoning the possibility of something with a different dynamic through this Congress.
You've got Newt Gingrich, you've got people out there, this is transformational. I mean, here's what I think gets this audience most upset.
Yeah, and that's what you're selling, you know. But we got to get them really upset before we throw the My Pillow ad up, so that they're really like, I need some retail therapy.
Is that this is a big working class audience, middle class audience?
No, majority of his audience are fucking overseas bots and people who live in retirement villages.
We have a lot of people like my grandfather and father.
Right. Yes, your grandfather and father. Yes, you have a lot of fucking old people watch this show. Not they were working class at some point. Now they're living off their retirement.
Father that, you know, just went to high school or maybe even grade school, but are plenty smart. They read. We got them reading the FT and the Economist. They hate being talked down to, and they hate being talked.
Yeah, elementary school kids who read the Financial Times always hate being talked down to. All of them. I mean, both of them.
To like they're idiots. Walk us through this. This bill is so brazen. Particularly, we weren't happy with the first thing that was passed, right? But we said we'll take it principally because we get something, but particularly it's just 1 year. And it's capped. It's $1.5 trillion. It's 1 year. And we can then have the bigger debate later as people see how they mismanage this, correct?
Yeah, except they didn't. And we're not in this position because of government mismanagement of funds.
Walk us through your sense of this bill itself, the reality of it, not the happy talk that they're spinning nonstop.
And it's important to say at the beginning, I would think that the least present virtue in Washington is courage, but I think that's
Fuck you. Tell that to the Capitol Police that your asshole friends tried to kill, dummy.
eclipsed by truth. That is to say, this stuff that's being
You're
said
saying
about
that you're saying it's rarer to have truth even than courage.
Yeah, and this is, I mean.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for straightening that out for him. This guy needs some politicking lessons.
So to have this done, but then lie about it in every detail is of course, I started.
It's downright Republican, if I may say so.
Unbecoming. That's so I can't find the right word.
Well, it's I think you found the perfect job.
But it is, and can I say one other thing about your audience and about
No, because you can't say anything already about what you're trying to actually say things about.
That's one thing is I sort of spend time up here and getting all the
You sort of spend time up there? Don't you work there?
wrinkles I'll go and I'll meet some person back home.
Uh-huh.
And actually it's not just one person, but I mean, it just.
Obviously, you don't just meet one person. Nobody does that. They always come in packs of 7.
It happens. You get this impression person by person, and they've got amazing command of the details.
The details.
They know it all, and you do.
That's because those are the only people that get to you, stupid. That's because you're only operating surrounded by sycophants this motherfucker sends to crawl up your fucking keister.
Moon River.
It's it's like the self-selecting crowds that any politically devout people find themselves in unless they make an effort to hang out with people that aren't like that.
You realize after a while it's only going to take me 2 minutes, I think, to describe it. And so if someone's interested enough to watch for 2 minutes or listen, in fact, they're going to know what I'm going to tell them. I guarantee you most of your audience has already heard these things and they've already gotten it because it's been out on.
Dude, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And neither does he. He's laughing at your face. But Steve Bannon loves to laugh at his guests because the money rolls in no matter how things go. Can anybody work out, other than the fact that he doesn't like it and he thinks it's capitulation? Where's this guy is patting himself on the fucking back for some sort of deep reads wonky understanding of what's in it or his ability to express it, and we've heard nothing.
Twitter for a couple days.
Yeah.
We've gotten the text, and so the biggest thing is, whereas as you said, we extended out the debt ceiling a year, put it in the middle of the presidential election, so that we would
in 1.5 in our bill and capped it 1.5 trillion,
correct,
or next May, whatever comes first.
So they go 2 years. And they have no limit on it.
No cap.
People think, they're sort of thinking, well, it'll probably be $4 trillion.
Could be much more.
Could be more.
Much more.
They got these Inflation Reduction Act tax credits for Green New Deal energy stuff that Goldman said, no, the estimate of 297 or 279 billion, the cost of that is wrong. It's going to be more than 1.2 trillion. All that's going to be rolling. The permitting.
Yeah, but those are tax breaks. They're not paying renewable companies this. They're allowing them to basically run a profit for a time because it's a new industry to get on its fucking feet. And by the way, again, we've covered this before, but every fucking gas station in this country was seeded by the federal government subsidizing every aspect of oil and gas in the United States as the Industrial Revolution took off and as people started to get fucking cars, and the connectivity of cars and the interstate highway system made business boom and grew the economy, and they knew it. So it was fucking worth it. Ultimately, had they known back then that they should probably, tee up and run cars off of natural gas earlier or something like that, we would have gone a different path. But the benefits to the society of the government subsidizing frequent gas stations being around everywhere you went, and the oil companies and car companies getting subsidies and protections by the U.S. government benefited every fucking family in the goddamn country. Period. So these new companies that are running on solar and wind and geothermal and hydroelectric power and all that kind of stuff, they're giving them a break on their taxes to get up and running. But this is not money that would even exist at all And when they get up on their feet, they will be a primary revenue source for the fucking government. But if they never get on their feet, that money will never come in. I don't even know why. If they're giving them the irony, listen to what this fucker said. Let me show you something. Listen to what this fucker said.
Much more.
They got these Inflation Reduction Act tax credits for Green New Deal energy
tax credits
stuff that Goldman said, no, the estimate of 297 or 279 billion, the cost of that is wrong. It's going to be more than 1.2 trillion.
So originally it was 279 billion. It's going to be 1.9 trillion, 1.5 trillion, probably closer to 1.2. That's because of the enormous growth in the renewables industry. If that's the taxes you're going to get, or you're expecting to fucking get, then imagine the size of the income of the industry as a whole. And if these guys had their way, it wouldn't exist at all.
All that's going to be rolling. The permitting improvements, which is the only thing in this bill you could argue is a get. Well,
it means oil and gas permits, which, by the way, were the Biden administration has had to sell off a bunch of these like Gulf oil permits, some of these other places, because they to get the infrastructure bill passed or get the rescue plan passed, they agreed to at least meet the ones that were already pre-sold or already marked for sale, and they still cut them by 60%.
Will actually be available to make all of that happen faster. Now that's as good as it gets.
Right.
So Kevin comes out and says, "Well, we've nixed the IRS agent expansion for fiscal year 23."
Gibberish.
That's just not true.
It's not just a misleading. That's false. It's factually false. The bill takes he said 1.9 billion. That's wrong. It's 1.4 billion off of the
80 billion.
80 billion appropriation has a 10-year life that they gave the IRS in a lump. The Democrats did. So you took a billion four off, leaving 78 point. Did I say 80? Yeah, taking $78.6 billion available. And it's not like the language in the bill doesn't do anything to hold them off staffing. It just takes $1 billion.
Yes.
Four off. They can mass up immediately and spend.
Yeah, they're gonna use AI. You're fucked, buddy.
And all they want to. And then he goes. So he does that, and then tries to tell the conference and the American public that he's.
This guy's, by the way, I'm really loving how high this guy's voice is getting when he gets upset. And then they do, and then the thing, and then this is what we're gonna do, and then they say the thing, and then we're stuck with the same fucking thing with the thing.
That we've nixed the increase, at least for 1 year. We can fight again next year, he said. Well, that's false. Let's see,
where was I?
Next? You got the other thing they're really proud of is what they call PAYGO, the PAYGO administrative rule.
A total lie.
Total lie.
When you read the footnote.
And again, what the analogy.
Here's the thing. The footnotes are why Biden is saying he doesn't want to gloat.
What it is, how important.
Yeah. The analogy it moves from is in our bill, we wanted to get the REINS Act. That's the thing that says Congress would have to approve all major regulations. And a lot of people say, well, that's a shiny object, can't get it. But it's got merit. Interesting. It could fundamentally change how regulatory burdens are borne by the economy.
The administrative state.
Yeah, it could also destroy our waterways, our air, the FAA, the safety of interstate roads, probably result in a volcanic eruption and nuclear weapons being fired off accidentally.
Right. But instead they say, well, this is a handy substitute. PAYGO in the administration, they had a rule in the Trump administration, and it was enforced by the OMB that said, the agency wants to bring out additional costs in the form of a regulation, they got to take it back in some other cancellation of a rule.
Because most updated regulations are 1-for-1.
Well, the language of this provision says it it can be waived by the Biden administration.
OMB.
And they say for program effectiveness and things, which is anything. And it actually goes beyond that and says, and no such determination can be challenged in court.
Yes.
So
it's a ball-faced lie.
It is a. I mean that.
See what I mean? Are you? I mean, they're doing the best job selling this fucking bill to me. This is where you want to go when you want to, if you're ever worried about negotiations on a piece of bipartisan legislation that has to go through, go listen to these guys bitch about it. I mean, this is fucking relaxing.
You could say theoretically, look, leadership is going around and pointing out rules that have been come out in the last couple of years and $1 trillion or whatever of cost that's been incurred that way, that they say this is all going to be changed. It's dynamic, but it's huge change. It's a lie.
Also, what about?
It's a lie. Come on. It's a lie. They're lying to our faces. Come on. It's a lie. Hold on. I feel like I have to, wait. It's a lie. Why won't the lies? There's a lie. And I have to say, it's a lie. Why do I have a double? There's somebody behind me. It's scaring me. I've got big hair, bigger than I thought. This is a lie. I'm one of his constituents. I'm from Ohio County in Ocklawaha district of Wyoming, which is a collective state that we all have formed in our minds. And they are lying. They're lying like they lie like a line on the road. Okay. Lying. Sorry, I disappeared for a second.
The caps years after, it's a 2-year deal, but they say, oh no, you got to include the 1% budget caps because CBO included as one of their theoretical. No, it's a 2-year deal.
CBO scored this at $2.1 trillion reduction in the baseline over 6 years, because there are 2 years of caps. Let me come back to that in a minute, and 4 years of targets.
Yes.
Well, the caps are of the kind that were put in 2011 and that were breached in every single fiscal year except the first.
Yes.
Over 2013 to 2021. Those kinds of caps are in for 2 years. So think about whether you think that'll play out.
Right.
And then the other ones for 4 years are targets that don't even have the force of the caps. And
they don't even have they ain't even got the force of the caps.
And then they go get that scored.
They don't even have it. It's a lie.
By CBO, and the process is so screwed up here that CBO says, "Oh, that's going to save 2.1 trillion." Or
that's terrible.
That's what they're saying.
$2.1
trillion.
Yeah,
they just lying. Come on, why are you doing it? They just lying. Look. They ain't even got a cap. They don't. They said they're gonna cap his stuff, and then they don't cap it, and they just lying. No wonder Biden's all excited. He jumping around, being all happy and stuff. These caps are nonsense.
So they lie. That's
what they do. They just lie. It's a Washington thing.
That's to me, as an observer, I've only been up here since 2019.
Only.
So what you guys did, what Donald Trump's emergence and everything, but to me, that's what
his emergency spending. He emerged from what he's trying to say. He emerged from one of them like alien eggs, like they went like that, and he went and jumped on the face and stuck his little. Never mind. I so wish.
What Donald Trump is about.
It is what he's about. He's about 294 pounds, and he's about 6'1". I've seen him on the screen. His head's really small. I think it makes him look cuter.
Is people are fed up with the lies and
I'm fed up with the lies. Tell him. Tell him. That's what he got my email. It just said, I'm fed up with the lies.
Cosmetics.
Yes.
And they've been seeing it, we're going to repeal Obamacare however many times in the House vote.
Yeah, and they never have. I mean, I'd be dead if you had, but still.
And then when the time comes, you won't do it. That's what this is about. We tried to re-inject in terms of the.
I like the sound of that. I'm not gonna lie. You can feel free to re-inject around here.
Moon River.
That's what I was thinking.
Speakers contest, a dynamic where we said, okay, the House can get together. We'll hold Kevin McCarthy to account. I know when I
to account, like underwater till a count of 90, or what do you mean?
Say that, boy, I'm not unaware that your listeners are saying, boy, he sounds naive just in that.
Yeah, he does. You sound real innocent. I'd love to just grab your little head and give you a noogie like that, but, in a nice, friendly, sexual kind of a way.
Statement. But if you got to take the situation as you find it and figure out what the dynamic approach is to make something better.
I will.
So you take Kevin McCarthy, you wed him to specific.
He wet what? He wet himself? When did that happen?
Very precise.
Tape or it didn't video or it didn't happen.
Obligations. And he wants to be speaker more than he wants life itself.
Well, I doubt that. I mean, have you tested that theory? I don't think it's legal.
He will find a way to get the thing done. And rhetorically, he did a pretty good job over.
He did. Except the part you hate, he's doing great.
2 or 3,
which is all of it, apparently.
3-4 months. And we put a Freedom Caucus bill on the floor and passed it with.
When you say Freedom Caucus, say it slower.
218 votes. They said we couldn't do that, and then he went in and just completely gave it all.
After.
Oh, he gave everything away. He just rolled over, lifted up his skirt, and sang to the heavens.
River.
He did. He didn't.
After selling.
Am I Michelle Bachmann? Excuse me. I am Henrietta Hagman. I'm Harriet Hagman's sister by marriage. We just happen to look exactly alike. I am the formerly conjoined twin, thank you, Dr. Harrelsford, of George DeVolder, a.k.a. George Santos, a.k.a. the Brazilian check swindler.
Saying I'm taking a hard line here, and then gave it.
Well, you're looking a little doughy for that.
Wait, the key is the 2 years. This deal, as much as we hated the first, the Freedom Caucus, and you guys realize you wanted.
Well, say Freedom Caucus real slow.
Much deeper cuts and more meaningful cuts to basically save the country's economy. But people are prepared to live with it as a compromise, but not one step back.
Not one step. What are we do-si-doing, or is this it's a hoedown?
And the key was it's 1.5 trillion. We're giving you debt relief, 1.5 trillion.
I understood there would be no math.
And or 1 year from today, whatever comes first. And that would probably be back here in October or November, having another.
Well, obviously, Gerald always comes first. Lazy son of a bitch.
Arguing saying we gave you the debt ceiling relief. You saw what happened. You're going to blow through it.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. The first thing they gave away, and this is the old Washington inside game, was the 2 years. Take the cap off, because they know if you have a cap on this thing, we're going to be back here. And then
that's right. They just did. They screwed us. McCarthy's worse than Biden. China McCarthy. I think he's working for the Chinese. That's what I think. Tell him, Steve Bannon. He's swooped in there and taken the Biden crime family's territory. There's a gang war going on, and McCarthy is moving in on that territory. And Fredo Biden is going to fuck up the deal.
Take it, make it 2 years, kick it right after the election. Take it. We won't have a national conversation.
Yeah, we don't want to have that
during the 2024. And quite,
I lost my voice the last one.
Frankly, it takes Trump's, I think, biggest weapon. CNN said this morning it takes his biggest weapon out of there. How? One other thing, they talk about, even the cuts they talk about are ephemeral.
Yeah, so that's and even, that's right.
Give me a minute on that before we go to break. That's ephemeral.
McCarthy likes to say it was the first time we've cut.
It is. It's ephemeral. It's ephemeral, which is way too close to effeminate for Republicans to deal with. You can't allow that.
Spending. might cut $12 billion. Somebody said at the outside you could see it could be $20 billion. It is laughable. It's laughable. But even that is probably not correct because there's some
You're saying even the 12 to 20 billion, which is the only hard number we can come up with. You're saying that may not be correct.
Correct.
Tell me why you got there.
Because you got these specific appropriations that go the other direction and laid aside for the PACT Act. That's for the soldier veterans. They say it's going to be spent anyway, so it probably doesn't make any difference. But
this dude's bitching about the PACT Act still. About all the 9/11 first responders and soldiers near burn pits that were affected. He's still This motherfucker is still grinding over the fact that they had to dole out some money for health care for these guys and girls and people in general.
And then there's 22 billion of the COVID money that hadn't been spent. They don't
trillion, billion, who cares?
Actually rescind that and just keep it. They set it aside in these two funds at Commerce.
Can be redeployed.
And it can be redeployed.
Oh, it's what? That's terrible. So they take money already budgeted from COVID that hasn't been spent, and they claw it back and give the administration discretionary use of it. Because they already passed the bill where it had it in it, and they had the votes to do that. And so that's how it works. Because if you guys want to pass a bill that has discretionary money in it, that's the way you guarantee that doesn't get clawed back if you lose the House. It's a gentleman's agreement, but in a room full of the opposite of gentlemen. There you go. Yeah. Get out of the centrifuge. Is that my centrifuge face, everybody? By the way, hi chat room. I hope I wasn't creeping you out too much with that face. Bahara. Tax cuts for super wealthy while others are starving is ephemeral. Exactly. The fucking Trump trade deal with China where he's selling them all of our beef while Americans are waiting for bags of noodles in lines in cars during fucking COVID. Nightmares. We're used to Harriet. Yeah, it's dead on. It pretty much looks like her. I'm just saying. Creep us out all the time. Thank you. That's very sweet. That's pretty sweet. How much time do I have? Oh, I got time. Can I jump back into another one? By the way, I'm reminding everybody to subscribe, become a Patreon supporter, patreon.com/HalsBarks. Also, if you're on Twitch, you can subscribe if you have Amazon Prime and it doesn't cost you a dime. I'm just saying. And look, do the big accounts really need your time and money anymore? No, they're doing just fine. If they cleared that million number, hop over here, throw a like my way. Come on, give a thumbs up or something. And trolls, by the way, I had a great time with a group of trolls that showed up on my Twitter feed, and I was hoping some of them would make it over to the chat room. I don't know if they have. I didn't really check. Have any of them actually? This show is a lot. And yes, and you can always Venmo to support the show. Venmo to support the show. Also, I got to be honest, some of it will help Chud. Thank you, Andrea. Oh, that's very sweet, right? The perfect timing towards Chud's build. Thank you, because she's becoming an expensive cat, but she's worth it. I'm just saying. I love you guys. But yeah, subscribe, support the show, help me stay on the air, help this become a thing, and there you go.